To all, I am Karina from BSc Chemistry Honours Second Year. Today's our topic is from Pradeep's Physical Chemistry book by Dr. S.C. Khetarpal. Thermodynamics 3. Work function, Helmholtz free energy and Gibbs function, Gibbs free energy. In addition to the various thermodynamic quantities like internal energy U, work W, heat Q, enthalpy H, entropy S, etc. discussed earlier. Two more thermodynamic quantities used very frequently in the study of chemical thermodynamics are work function and Gibbs free energy. Number 1, work function. This is usually denoted by symbol A from German word Arbeit, which means work, and is defined by equation A equals to U minus Ts. U is equals to internal energy of system, T is the temperature and S is the entropy. Since U, T and S are function of state of system only and do not depend upon its previous history, therefore A also must be a state function. In order to understand the physical significance of work function, consider an isothermal change taking place at temperature T, then A1 equals to U1 minus Ts1, A2 equals to U2 minus Ts2. On solving these, increase in function A accompanying the process will be given by A2 minus A1 equals to U2 minus Ts2 minus U1 minus Ts1. On solving these, change in A equals to change in U minus T change in S. Delta U equals to U2 minus U1 is change in internal energy of system. Delta S equals to S2 minus S1 is change in entropy of system. According to definition of entropy change, we know that delta S equals to Q reversible upon T. According to first law of thermodynamics as applied to an isothermal reversible process, we have delta U equals to Q reversible minus W maximum, delta A equals to Q reversible minus W maximum minus T Q reversible upon T minus delta A equals to W maximum. Thus, for a process occurring at constant temperature, the decrease in the work function A is equals to the maximum work done by the system. In fact, it is for this reason that this thermodynamic quantity has been termed as work function, although at one time it was called Helmholtz free energy. Number 2. Gibbs function, Gibbs free energy. This is usually denoted by G and is defined by the equation G equals to H minus Ts, where H, T and S are the heat content, enthalpy, temperature and entropy of the system respectively. As before, since H, T and S are the function of state, therefore G is also the function of state of system only. Hence, for isothermal process occurring at temperature T, we can write G1 equals to H1 minus Ts1, G2 equals to H2 minus Ts2, G2 minus G1 equals to H2 minus Ts2 minus H1 minus Ts2. On solving this, delta G equals to delta H minus T delta S. Delta G equals to G2 minus G1, change in Gibbs free energy of system. Delta H equals to H2 minus H1, enthalpy change of system. Delta S equals to S2 minus S1, entropy change of system. The physical significance of Gibbs free energy may be obtained as follows. At constant temperature T, delta S equals to Q reversible upon T, T delta S equals to Q reversible. At constant pressure, delta H equals to delta U plus P delta V, delta G equals to delta U plus P delta V minus Q reversible equals to delta U minus Q reversible plus P delta V. According to first law of thermodynamics, delta U equals to Q reversible minus W maximum. Delta U minus Q reversible is equals to minus W maximum. Substituting this value of minus W maximum in the place of delta U minus Q reversible, delta G equals to minus W maximum plus P del V, minus delta G equals to W maximum minus P delta V. But P delta V is work of expansion done by system corresponding to the increase in volume delta V. Hence, W maximum minus P delta V stand for maximum work other than work of expansion. This is called maximum net work available from the process. Hence, we conclude that for a process occurring at constant temperature and constant pressure, the decrease in Gibbs free energy is equal to maximum net work obtainable from the process. That is the total work minus the pressure volume work or work of expansion. It is because the change in G is a measure of useful work done that G has been called as the free energy. It may be further mentioned here that it is customary to refer to Gibbs free energy simply as free energy. The designation Gibbs or Helmholtz is added only when necessary for clarity. Variation of Helmholtz function, work function with temperature and volume. The work function is given by equation A equals to U minus Ts. Complete differentiation of this equation gives dA equals to du minus Tds minus sdt. By definition of entropy change, we know that ds equals to curly q reversible upon T from first law of thermodynamic. Curly q reversible equals to du minus curly w. If work is restricted to work of expansion only, minus small change in w equals to pdv. Curly q reversible equals to du plus pdv. ds equals to du plus pdv upon t. tds equals to du plus pdv. dA equals to du minus pdv minus sdt. Du cancel and we obtain minus pdv minus sdt. If temperature is kept constant, dt equals to 0. dA at constant temperature equals to minus pdv at constant temperature. Curly A upon curly V at constant temperature equals to minus P. If volume is kept constant, dV equals to 0. dA at V equals to minus sdt at V. Curly A upon curly T at V equals to minus S. This gives the variation of work function with temperature and volume. The change in work function for a complete process under isothermal condition can be calculated as follows. For small change under isothermal condition, dA at constant temperature equals to minus pdv. Delta A at constant temperature equals to minus integration V1 to V2 pdv. PV is equals to nRT, P equals to nRT by V for n moles of an ideal gas. On solving this, we get delta A equals at T is equals to minus nRT ln V2 by V1. Delta AT equals to minus W maximum. Variation of Gibbs function या free energy with temperature and pressure. Free energy is given by the equation G equals to H minus Ts. By definition of enthalpy, H equals to U plus PV, G equals to U plus PV minus Ts. Complete differentiation of this equation gives dg equals to du plus pdv plus vdp minus tds minus sdt. ds equals to curly q reversible upon t is equals to du plus pdv upon t. tds equals to du plus pdv. Substituting these values, dg equals to du plus pdv plus vdp minus du plus pdv minus sdt is equals to vdp minus sdt. dg equals to vdp minus sdt. If temperature is kept constant, dt equals to 0. Curly G upon curly P at constant temperature equals to V. If pressure is kept constant, dP equals to 0. Curly G upon curly T at constant pressure equals to minus S. The change in free energy for a complete process under isothermal condition can be explained as calculated as follows. For an infinitesimal change under isothermal condition, dG at constant temperature equals to VdP. Change in G at constant temperature equals to integration P1 to P2 VdP. PV is equals to nRT, V equals to nRT upon P for n mole of an ideal gas we get. Delta G at constant temperature is equals to integration P1 to P2 nRT upon P into dP. On solving this, we obtain nRT ln of P2 by P1. For isothermal process, P1 V1 equals to P2 V2 or P2 by P1 equals to V1 by V2. Substituting these values, we get delta G at T equals to nRT ln P2 by P1 equals to nRT ln V1 by V2. Criteria for feasibility or spontaneity of a process. As already discussed in above section, the net entropy change for combined system and the surrounding delta S of system plus delta S of surrounding can be taken as a criteria for feasibility or spontaneity of a process. The results arrived at were if delta S system plus delta S surrounding greater than 0, process is irreversible, it is spontaneous or feasible. If delta S system plus delta S surrounding equals to 0, process is reversible, system is in equilibrium. The above two results may be combined and put in the form delta S system plus delta S surrounding greater than or equal to 0, where sign greater than refers to irreversible and equal refers to reversible process for a state of equilibrium and irreversible for spontaneous process. Above criteria, however, requires knowledge of both delta S of system and delta S of surrounding, which is not convenient. Hence, a number of other criteria which require the knowledge of the change in some thermodynamic quantity of the system only are preferred. These may be derived as follows. For an infinitesimal process, above criteria may be written as ds of system plus ds of surrounding greater than or equals to 0, greater than stand for reversible, irreversible and equal for reversible process. If the surrounding loss heat curly Q reversibly and isothermally at the temperature T, which may be absorbed by the system reversible or irreversibly, then ds of surrounding equals to minus curly Q reversible upon T. According to first law of thermodynamics, curly Q reversible is equals to du plus pdv, ds of surrounding equals to minus du plus pdv upon T. Substituting these values, ds of system equals to ds of system minus du plus pdv upon T greater than equals to 0. TDS minus du minus pdv greater than equals to 0, TDS equals to or greater than or equals to du plus pdv. ds stands for entropy change of system and subscript system has been omitted. It is the basic equation which leads to the number of criteria for predicting the feasibility of a process. In this equation, the sign equals stand for reversible process, sign greater than for irreversible process. In terms of entropy change of system, if the internal energy and volume of system are constant, du and dv equals to 0, then TDS at uv greater than equals to 0, or ds at u comma v greater than equals to 0. Number 2, if in terms of internal energy change of system, if entropy and volume of system are kept constant, 0 is greater than or equals to du sv. So, du sv is shorter than or equals to 0. In terms of enthalpy change of system, by definition of enthalpy, we know that H equals to U plus PV. Complete differentiation of this equation gives dH equals to du plus pdv plus vdp. du plus pdv equals to dH minus vdp. Putting these values, we get TDS greater than equals to dH minus vdp. If entropy and pressure of system are kept constant, ds and dp equals to 0, dH at constant entropy or pressure is smaller or equals to 0, smaller than or equal to 0. In terms of change in work function of system, by definition work function is given by A equals to U minus Ts. Differentiating this equation completely, we get dA equals to du minus Tds minus sdt, Tds equals to du minus sdt minus dA. Putting these values in equation 6, we get du minus sdt minus dA greater than equals to du plus pdv minus sdt minus dA greater than equals to pdv. Sdt plus dA is smaller than or equals to minus pdv. If temperature and volume of system are kept constant, dt and dv equals to 0, so that we have dA at constant temperature and volume is smaller than or equal to 0. In terms of free energy change of system, by definition free energy is given by G equals to H minus Ts. H equals to U plus PV, G equals to U plus PV minus Ts. On complete differentiation of this equation gives dG equals to du plus pdv plus vdp minus TDS minus sdt. dE plus pdv equals du plus pdv equals to dg minus vdp plus TDS plus sdt. Putting these values in equation 6, we get TDS greater than equals to dg minus vdp plus TDS plus sdt. 0 is greater than equals to dg minus vdp plus sdt. dg minus vdp plus sdt is smaller than or equal to 0. If pressure and temperature of system are kept constant, dp and dt equals to 0, so that we obtain dg at constant pressure and temperature is smaller than or equal to 0. The criteria in terms of free energy change is most significant because most of the processes takes place at constant temperature and pressure. This criteria implies that if dg at pt is smaller than 0, process is reversible, that is, it is feasible. If dg at constant pressure temperature equal to 0, process is reversible, system is in equilibrium. If dg at constant pressure temperature greater than 0, process does not occur, it is not feasible. Limitation of criteria for spontaneity. No doubt the various criteria discussed above are helpful in predicting the spontaneity of a process, but they do not tell anything about the following: extent to which reaction takes place, the rate at which reaction proceed, and third one is the mechanism by which the reaction proceed. Advantage of free energy criteria over entropy change. An important advantage of free energy criteria over the entropy criteria lies in the fact that the former requires free energy change of the system only at constant pressure and temperature and is not concerned with what is happening to the surrounding, whereas the latter, that is the entropy change criteria, requires the total entropy change of system and surrounding, that is for the process to the spontaneous. Delta S total equals to delta S system plus delta S surrounding must increase. Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. The Gibbs-Helmholtz free energy equation is given by G equals to H minus Ts. For isothermal process, G1 equals to H1 minus Ts1, G2 equals to H2 minus Ts2. G2 minus G1 equals to H2 minus Ts2 minus H1 minus Ts1. On solving this, delta G equals to delta H minus T delta S. H equals to U plus PV, we get G equals to U plus PV minus Ts. On differentiating this completely equation, dg equals to du plus pdv plus vdp minus tds minus sdt. ds equals to q reversible upon t equals to du plus pdv upon t, tds equals to du plus pdv. Substituting these values, we get dg equals to vdp minus sdt. Pressure, if pressure is kept constant, dp equals to 0, curly g upon curly t at constant pressure equals to minus s. For initial state, it is equals to minus S1, for I final state is equals to minus S2. Substituting these equations, curly G2 upon curly T at P minus curly G1 upon curly T at P equals to minus S2 minus of minus S1 is equals to minus S2 plus S1 is equals to minus of S2 minus S1 is equals to minus of delta S. Or it may be written as curly upon curly T of G2 minus G1 at constant pressure equals to minus of delta S, or curly upon curly T of delta G at constant pressure equals to minus delta S. Substituting the value of minus delta S in the above equations, we get delta G equals to delta H plus T curly upon curly T of delta G at constant pressure. This is the most common form of Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. Now delta A equals to delta U plus T delta upon delta T of delta A at constant volume. This is another form of Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. Now when we divide this equation throughout by t square, we obtain curly upon curly T of delta G upon T at constant pressure equals to minus of delta H upon T square. Applications of Gibbs-Helmholtz equation. One of the application of Gibbs-Helmholtz equation is that knowing the free energy change at any two different temperature, the enthalpy change accompanying the process can be calculated. However, the most important application of Gibbs-Helmholtz equation is in the study of galvanic cell, which is briefly explained below. When a redox reaction is allowed to take place in a single beaker, heat is evolved. Earlier, it was believed that when the same reaction is allowed to take place in an electrochemical cell, the electrical energy produced was equivalent to the heat evolved. However, later on it was found that in a number of cases, the electrical energy produced is not equivalent to the heat evolved. This was explained by Gibbs and Helmholtz by stating that the electrical energy produced was equal to the decrease in the free energy, that is minus delta G, accompanying the cell reaction. They pointed out that if n is the number of electrons given out by one of the electrode or taken up the other electrode, then the quantity of electricity produced equals to nF Faradays, where F is equals to 1 Faraday is equals to 96500 Coulomb. If E is the EMF of the cell, then electrical energy produced by the cell equals to NFE. Decrease in free energy equals to minus delta G equals to NFE. Substituting this value in Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, we get minus NFE equals to delta H plus T curly upon curly T of minus NFE at constant pressure. NFE equals to minus delta H plus T NF curly E upon curly T at constant pressure. Nernst heat theorem. W. Nernst in 1906 made a detailed study about variation of enthalpy change and free energy change of a system with decrease of temperature. The result thus obtained is called Nernst heat theorem and is briefly described below. According to Gibbs-Helmholtz equation, delta G equals to delta H plus T curly upon curly T of delta G at constant pressure. From this equation, it is evident that at the absolute zero, that is, when T equals to 0, delta G equals to delta H. However, Nernst observed that as the temperature is lower towards absolute zero, the value of curly upon curly T of delta G decreases and then approaches 0 asymptotically. This means delta G and delta H are not only equal at the absolute zero, but the values approach each other asymptotically in the vicinity of this temperature. This result is known as Nernst heat theorem. Mathematically, it may be expressed as limit T tends to 0 d by dt of delta G equals to limit T tends to 0 d by dt of delta H equals to 0. Graphically, it may be represented as shown in figure. Now, curly we know that curly upon curly T of delta G at constant pressure equals to minus of delta S, and curly upon curly T of delta H at P equals to delta Cp. Combining these results with equation first, we get limit T tends to 0 delta S equals to 0 and limit T tends to 0 delta Cp equals to 0. Since gases do not exist at absolute zero, this means that the heat theorem is not applicable to gases. Similarly, it has been found to be inapplicable to liquids also. Thus, Nernst heat theorem is applicable to solids only. Third law of thermodynamics. The result of Nernst heat theorem led to enunciate a generalization which has been called as the third law of thermodynamics. In other words, third law of thermodynamics follows from the result of Nernst heat theorem as briefly explained below. According to Nernst heat theorem, delta Cp approach 0 at 0 Kelvin. This implies that at 0 Kelvin the heat capacity of reactant and the product become equal. It seems most probable that at 0 Kelvin all substances have the same heat capacity. On applying quantum theory to the heat capacity of solid, it is found that heat capacities of solids tend towards 0 at 0 Kelvin. Thus, Nernst heat theorem leads to the following result. Limit T tends to 0, Cp equals to 0. Also from Nernst theorem, limit T tends to 0, delta S equals to 0. Proceeding exactly in the same way as above, it may conclude that all solids have the same entropy at absolute zero of temperature, and it tends towards 0 at absolute zero of temperature, that is limit T tends to 0, S equals to 0. This generalization is known as third law of thermodynamics. It may be stated as under. The entropy of all perfectly crystalline solid may be taken as 0 at the absolute zero temperature. In a broader sense, the law is usually stated as follows. Every substance has finite positive entropy, but at the absolute zero of temperature, the entropy may become 0, and in fact it does become 0 in case of perfectly crystalline solid. Like the first and second law, this law is also a generalization based upon experience, and there is no direct proof for this law. However, the law has been verified in a number of ways, and there is no doubt about the validity of the law. It is important to note that third law of thermodynamics does not state that the entropies are 0 at T equals to 0. It merely states that all perfectly crystalline solids have the same entropy at T equals to 0. Choosing a common value as 0 is only a matter of convenience. Importance of third law, evaluation of absolute entropy. The importance of third law lies in the fact that it helps in the calculation of absolute entropies of elements or chemical compounds at any desired temperature. This may be illustrated as follows. The finitesimal entropy change is given by ds equals to curly q upon t equals curly q upon t, Cp equals to delta q curly q upon dt, so that curly q equals to Cp dt. Substituting these values in equation first, which is ds equals to curly q upon t, we have ds equals to Cp dt upon t. Hence, entropy change of a substance when its temperature changes from absolute 0 to the temperature T will be obtained from the equation integration S naught to S ds equals to integration T naught to T Cp dt by dt, or St minus S naught equals to integration 0 to T Cp dt by T. S naught is entropy of substance at absolute 0, St is the entropy of substance at temperature T. Now, according to third law of thermodynamics, S0 equals to 0, St equals to integration 0 to 1 Cp dt by T equals to integration 0 to T Cp d ln of T. Thus, entropy S of substance at temperature T can be calculated by measurement of heat capacities Cp at a number of temperature between 0 Kelvin to T degree Kelvin. Now on solving these equations, St equals to 0 to integration 0 to t1 Cp upon t dt plus t1 to t integration Cp upon t dt. On solving these equations, we found St equals to at1 cube upon 3 plus integration t1 to t Cp upon t dt. Here Cp equals to at cube, so Cp1 is equals to at1 cube. As further as Cp equals to at cube, there at1 cube upon t3 is equals to 1 upon 3 of Cp at t1. This means that the entropy change from 0 Kelvin to T1 Kelvin, that is St1 is equal to 1/3 of the value of Cp at T1. Hence this equation becomes St equals to 1/3 of Cp at T1 plus integration T1 to T Cp upon T dt. It is important to remember that the calculation as described above are applicable only to a solid involving no polymorphic change, that is a change from one crystalline form to another between 0 degree Kelvin to T degree Kelvin. If some polymorphic change is involved in this range, the entropy of transition delta transition H upon T of transition, where delta transition H is the molar heat of transition and T of transition is the transition temperature, will have to be concluded in the value calculated above. For liquid and gaseous substances, the total absolute entropy of the substance at the given temperature will be the sum of all the entropy changes which the substance has to undergo in order to reach that particular state starting from crystalline solid at absolute zero. Thus, if a substance is gaseous at 1 atmospheric pressure and 25 degrees Celsius, the entropy of the gas at 25 degrees Celsius will be the sum of following entropies involved at different stages. The entropy of heating the crystalline solid from T equals to 0 to T is equals to Tf. The melting point or fusion temperature equals to the entropy of fusion delta Fh upon Tf. Delta Fh is latent heat of melting or fusion. Entropy of heating the liquid from Tf to Tb boiling point. Entropy of vaporization delta Vh upon Tb, where delta Vh equal to latent heat of vaporization. The entropy of heating the gas from Tb to 25 degrees Celsius, that is 298 Kelvin. Thus, the complete expression for calculation of entropy at temperature T may be written as St equals to integration 0 to Tf Cp d ln T plus delta Fh upon Tf plus integration Tf to Tb Cp d ln T upon d T plus delta Vh upon Tb plus integration Tb to T Cp d ln T. If substance is solid at temperature T, only first term is to be taken with Tf equals to T. If substance is liquid at temperature T, the first three terms are to be taken with Tb equals to T. If substance is gaseous, full equation is to be used. Test of third law of thermodynamics. Number 1. By calculation of equilibrium constant. The equilibrium constant is related to standard free energy change according to the equation minus delta G naught equals to RT ln K minus delta G naught equals to delta H naught minus T delta S naught equals to summation S naught of product minus summation S naught of reactant. It is delta G naught can be calculated for a reaction. Putting this value of delta G naught in equation first, the equilibrium constant can be calculated. That is key. It is found that for a number of reaction, the value of equilibrium constant as calculated above comes out to be in close agreement with the experimental value. Number 2, by comparing with entropies calculated from statistical mechanics. The absolute entropies calculated on the basis of third law are found to be in complete agreement with those calculated using statistical mechanics. Number 3, by provoking that different allotropic forms of a substance have equal entropies at absolute zero. Orthorhombic sulfur S alpha changes into monoclinic sulfur S beta at the transition temperature of 369 Kelvin. The enthalpy of transition is found to be minus 402 joule per mole. Hence, molar entropy of transition will be delta S of transition equals to S alpha minus S beta equals to delta H of transition upon T of transition equals to minus 402 joule per mole divided by 369 Kelvin equals to minus 1.09 joule per Kelvin per mole. The individual entropies of the two forms can also be calculated by measuring their heat capacities from T equals to 0 to T equals to equals to 369 Kelvin. It is found that S alpha equals to S naught beta plus 37 joule per Kelvin per mole. S beta equals to S 0 beta plus 38 joule per Kelvin per mole. Hence, at the transition temperature, delta S of transition equals to S naught alpha minus S 0 beta is minus 1 joule per Kelvin per mole. Comparing these equations, we get S0 of alpha minus S0 of beta is equals to 0. S0 of alpha equals to S0 of beta. The element in perfectly crystalline form are arbitrarily ascribed a value of 0 for the entropy at absolute 0. Then all perfectly crystalline compound will also have 0 entropy at 0 Kelvin, keeping in mind the definition of entropy of formation of a compound. Residual entropy. As explained above, entropies can be determined by applying third law of thermodynamics. These can also be calculated from statistical mechanics or from spectroscopic data. It is found that in most of the cases, the agreement between the third law entropies and those calculated from statistical mechanics is very fair. However, in some cases, the experimental value as found from third law is found to be less than the calculated value. For example, standard entropies found from third law and calculated from statistical mechanics for CO and N2 are given below. Molecule, third law entropy, joule per Kelvin per mole, and statistical entropy, joule per Kelvin per mole, is given as molecule CO, third law entropy 193.4, statistical entropy 197.7. For N2O, third law entropy is equals to 215.2, statistical entropy equals to 219.9. These entropy values are in joule per Kelvin per mole. The lower value of third law entropies are explained on the basis that at T equals to 0 Kelvin, the crystals of these substances are not perfect. That is there is some disorder present in the solid even at T equal to 0 Kelvin. The entropy which the crystal of a substance has at T equal to 0 Kelvin is called the residual entropy. Origin of residual entropy. To understand the origin of residual entropy, let us consider a crystal made up of A molecules where A and B are similar atoms so that the molecule has very small electric dipole moment. These molecules can adopt different orientations such as AB, 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 AB or AB, BA, BA, AB. These arrangements or many other random arrangement that the molecules can adopt have very little difference of energy. Thus, there is a residual disorder and hence there is residual entropy at 0 Kelvin. Calculation of residual entropy. Residual entropy can be calculated by applying Boltzmann formula, that is S equals to K, L and W, where W represents number of possible orientation of molecules that are equal probable, that is have nearly the same energy, and hence W is called thermodynamic probability and K is Boltzmann constant. A few examples are given below. Residual entropy of CO. Suppose a sample consists of n molecules of CO. Now, as each molecule can have two orientations that are equally probable, that is CO, CO, OC, CO, OC, OC. Therefore, same energy can be achieved in 2 raised to power n different ways. That is W equals to 2n, n is in the power of 2. Hence, S equals to K ln 2 raised to power n is equals to Kn ln of 2. If 1 mole of sample is taken, Kn equals to R, then S equals to R ln 2 equals to 2.303 R, log of 2 equals to 2.303 into 8.314 into 0.3010 joule per Kelvin per mole equals to 5.85 joule per Kelvin per mole. Number 2, residual entropy of FClO3. FClO3 molecule can have 4 possible orientations with nearly same energy. Hence, residual entropy is S equals to R ln 4 equals to 2.303 R log 4 equals to 2.303 into 8.314 into 0.6021 equals to 11.5 joule per Kelvin per mole. In general, if a molecule can adopt P possible orientations at T equals to 0 which have nearly the same energy, the residual molar entropy will be SR equals to R ln of P. Thank you.